Being the child of two of the most famous faces of the 90s sounds glamorous on paper, like being born straight onto a red carpet. But for Brandon Thomas Lee, the son of Baywatch bombshell Pamela Anderson and Mötley Crüe's legendary drummer Tommy Lee, the spotlight has always been a package deal, along with a very large, very persistent shadow. While Brandon is now carving out his own identity in Hollywood as both an actor and producer, his journey has been far from smooth. Imagine growing up with a rock star dad, a mom who defined an era's beauty standard, and paparazzi who knew your lunch schedule better than your school timetable. It's not exactly the average childhood. Born into the headlines. Brandon entered the world in 1996, just a year after his parents' infamous private tape was stolen and leaked, a scandal that clung to the family for decades. While most kids grow up dodging vegetables at dinner, Brandon grew up dodging grown adults with cameras hiding behind bushes. Growing up with my mom being a sex symbol and my dad being a rock star was crazy, he has said, and not the fun, confetti-throwing, champagne-popping kind of crazy. In his early years, he thought paparazzi following families around was just a regular Tuesday. It wasn't until a lunch with friends that reality hit him. I remember asking, "Why does no one take photos of you guys?" he recalled. His friends looked at him like he'd just asked why the sky was blue. "That's not normal," they explained. Cue the slow realization fame wasn't something Brandon had chased. It was the strange, glittery, chaotic bubble he had been born into. The reluctant celebrity. For years, Brandon swore he'd never work in entertainment. Why would he? He'd seen the toll it took. But life, and maybe a tiny sprinkle of inherited showbiz DNA, had other plans. He eventually starred in MTV's The Hills, New Beginnings, and then stepped behind the camera as a producer. "My parents, the last thing they wanted me to do was get into show business," he's admitted. "I ran away from college to do that." That's one way to declare a major. Family feuds in the public eye. In 2018, Brandon faced one of his toughest personal challenges yet. Tommy Lee publicly claimed on social media that he had spent over $130,000 on Brandon's rehab. Ouch. Brandon responded with a sarcastic thank you, but then followed it with something more powerful. The announcement that he was nearly 2 years sober. "My clear mind has allowed me to do a lot with this time," he wrote, showing a side of himself that was determined, grateful, and unwilling to be defined by past mistakes. But the same year, things escalated when father and son got into a physical altercation. Tommy posted a picture of his bruised lip, claiming Brandon had punched him. Brandon didn't deny it, but insisted was self-defense after his dad allegedly lunged at him. The case was eventually dropped, but Brandon pointed to his father's drinking as the root cause, even saying he'd tried to stage an intervention. Pamela publicly sided with Brandon on the alcohol concerns, though Tommy denied having a problem. Their exchanges online could have been ripped from a soap opera. Tommy accusing his sons of being spoiled, Brandon firing back, "You gotta show up to be a dad, big guy." Mic drop. Eventually, the ice thawed. By 2024, father and son were hugging on Instagram and hitting charity golf events together. Brandon even described their connection as more of a friendship than a traditional father-son relationship. Friends fight, and then they make up. A son on a mission. Beyond building his own career, Brandon has taken on a deeply personal project, restoring his mother's image. After decades of seeing Pamela Anderson reduced to punchlines and tabloid headlines, he helped produce Pamela, a love story, the Netflix documentary that stripped away the myth and revealed the woman behind the glam. "I wasn't trying to make her look perfect," he explained. "I just wanted to tell the truth. It was part of a larger mission." Pamela's life had been defined by a combination of fierce resilience, devastating betrayals, and constant public scrutiny. Brandon knew that showing her real story, including the raw, unpolished parts, could finally give her back her voice. The woman behind the bombshell. Pamela's public image has often been larger than life, but she has also spoken about a private reality shaped by hardship and resilience. Her romantic life, she's been married 5 times, has included turbulent chapters, and she has said she loves being married while recognizing the challenges that came with some relationships. Pamela has also publicly discussed experiencing trauma in her youth and the lasting impact it had on her ability to trust, while emphasizing her determination to heal and move forward. From discovery to stardom. In 1989, her luck seemed to turn when she was spotted in the crowd at a football game. That chance moment led to a modeling career, a spokesperson gig for a beer company, and eventually a Playboy cover that launched her into pop culture history. Then came Baywatch, red swimsuits, and global fame. But just months after marrying Tommy Lee in 1995, a wedding that happened only 96 hours after they met, their honeymoon tape was stolen and leaked. Pamela has said she made no money from the tape, calling it stolen property. Pregnant at the time with her first son, she eventually gave up the legal fight, citing the stress's impact on her health. Love, loss, and legal battles. The Lee-Anderson marriage was passionate but volatile. Pamela filed for divorce after their first child, Brandon, but they reconciled, only for her to file again after their second son, Dylan. This time, it was final. During their split, Tommy served 6 months in prison after being convicted of assaulting her. "It's the hardest thing in the world when you love someone," Pamela said, "but you can't stay in a dangerous place." Health scares and financial struggles. As if public heartbreak wasn't enough, Pamela was diagnosed with hepatitis C, a serious liver disease. She believes she contracted it from sharing a tattoo needle with Tommy, something she says she wasn't warned about. Doctors told her she might have just 10 to 15 years to live. She spent $100,000 on an experimental treatment and was cured in just 12 weeks. But soon after, she faced another blow when the IRS seized her home over nearly $500,000 in unpaid taxes. She called it an embarrassing but temporary situation, promising to resolve it quickly. Resilience as a way of life. Pamela Anderson has endured more than most: abusive relationships, invasive media scrutiny, health battles, and financial setbacks. Yet she remains unshakably herself, still believing in love, still redefining her story on her own terms. And thanks to her son Brandon, the world is finally seeing more than just the headlines. His work as a producer on her documentary and his support for her memoir have helped shift the conversation from scandal to strength. Whether Pamela will ever find her one true love remains to be seen. But maybe that's not the real ending here. Maybe the story is about something bigger. A woman who refuses to be broken, and a son determined to make sure the world sees her as more than just a bombshell, because behind the camera flashes, the scandalous tabloid covers, and the red swimsuits is a family. Complicated, messy, sometimes explosive, but bound together by more than just a famous last name. And if you ask Brandon Thomas Lee, he's not just the son of Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. He's proof that even when you're born in the shadow of the spotlight, you can still choose to step into it on your own terms. Preferably with better lighting, a clearer mind, and no paparazzi hiding in the bushes. And that's the story, from wild rock and roll beginnings to hard-won redemption. If you enjoyed diving into the highs, lows, and comebacks of Brandon Thomas Lee and Pamela Anderson, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss more celebrity deep dives and behind-the-scenes stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth is always more interesting than the headlines.